I live in Dallas, Texas, and I have Shelly Rosenberg Studio. And I also have founded Acorn Oak, which is a design practice that specifically supports residential and commercial projects for people with disability. My daughters both had pretty serious learning differences, and my middle one was eventually diagnosed on the autism spectrum. And so I noticed that I was continually changing their environments and my environment and really reworking my home to make sure that my kids were more settled, that we could handle the meltdowns at the end of the day. And so I kind of started thinking about design in a more deep way with my girls. And then I remarried and had another child, a little boy, Ronan, and he has Down syndrome. So, wow, now I have an even deeper way of looking at design. And it was overwhelming and difficult at the beginning. And I thought, maybe I need to quit design, because interiors is this beautiful, luxurious experience on one hand. And then my real life had a lot more to do with medical conditions and therapies. And I was meeting a lot of families that were dealing with really heavy life decisions, dealing with leukemia or feeding tubes or other kind of weighty issues. And I started to feel like my life was really off kilter. There was just that juxtaposition there that didn't feel like it was working. But my friends, my other special needs mamas, my disability mamas were all encouraging me to stay in design. They said, wait a second, please don't leave. We need help. We need help in our homes, and you get it because you're really living this life with us. And I realized at that point that this was a niche that I could really specialize in and really kind of dive deep, get to know the science behind design and figure out how to help these families. And so I created a new company, a subsidiary called Acorn Oak, and that's my focus. I am really going into these homes and not only helping them become ADA accessible, that's definitely a part of it, but also looking at sensory design and how these kids, especially on the spectrum, deal with the sensory input that we get daily, and just how to make an environment more relaxed, or sometimes kids need more input, just to how to recreate an environment that is sensory compatible to the client. In looking for education to work with kids and families, I couldn't find anything. So all my certifications are in aging in place type, because I really couldn't find anything. No one's teaching anything about all these kids. 1 in 44 kids now are autistic. I do a lot of education on aging in place because as people age, of course, their disabilities grow, and there is a lot of overlap between children that are born with a genetic condition or that are medically fragile and people that are aging. So there is a lot of overlap with aging in place. In fact, sometimes when I speak to fellow designers about disability, they'll say to me, oh, I really don't ever have any families with disability. So sometimes talking with them about their boomer clients or their clients that are aging in place is a good way to kind of connect about sensory design. And then I also let them know that people with disability are really, this group is the largest minority in the world. And so even if you think you haven't had clients with a disability, you will. So it's just so important to kind of talk about these things. And really the dream is to talk with my industry, architects and designers, about beginning to design projects, especially if we get a hold of them at the beginning, to design using universal design principles, so that we can design correctly from the beginning, so that every single space is supportive to the most people possible. And that would really cut down on all the remodels and the redoing that we'd have to do. I feel that ADA compliance, not only is ADA laws, they're very new, but also ADA is really mostly about mobility, which is just a fraction of what disability encompasses. As I'm doing more podcasts and speaking to more people, I'm starting to meet adults with a vast array of disability that are contacting me and want to talk about what they're dealing with and how their homes do not currently support them. One that really surprised me was a woman that is dealing with narcolepsy, which had not even crossed my mind. There are so many neurological disorders that are invisible to most of us. You would not assume that she needed any kind of ADA accommodations. However, the lighting in her college classrooms really posed an issue. She also lives in Seattle, and it's very dark there, which creates issues for her. I'm meeting people with MS, people with all kinds of degenerative diseases that progress over time that have just really opened my eyes, people that are hard of hearing, that have low vision. There are so many different disabilities that I think we just don't realize, we don't think of. There's just so much more than the mobility factor. So that's what I really love to talk about. I know that we have a lot of respect in this profession, but there's also people that think that decorating is merely just about aesthetics. And we know aesthetics make us feel good and that it can relate to better health because we're happier. But there are all kinds of other ways that we can now prove through science where design truly has a greater impact on human health than even medical professionals do. And how do we know that? Because we are in an indoor environment 85, 90% of the time now. And so the environments that we're in are extremely important. They're affecting our health in incredible ways every day. And so the more we can learn about the lighting, the materials, our air quality, our water quality, if we as designers start to take that on, not only is that a much greater offering to give to our clients over and above furniture and fabrics or draperies, it expands our bottom line. We can increase our financials by increasing the products that we give, but we also become this incredibly trusted ally, even more so than we are now, to our clients and to the communities that we live in. Really never thought I would do a show house. It was just not something that I thought about. But I had a few women write me and say, I see what you're doing and it's really important. You should do Kips Bay Show House. And I thought, I don't even have an employee. I am on my own. I'm a small designer. I'm not sure I could pull it off, but I did get a lot of encouragement. And so I did apply, and I was thrilled and terrified when I found out that I got Kips Bay. And I decided that if I were going to make this kind of investment, not only with finances, but also with time away from my family and my kids, that I really wanted to make a statement. And I was nervous about this, but I decided to create a room for my muse, who is a real little girl. Her name is Virginia, and she lives with Rett syndrome. And so she is nonverbal and not mobile. She's in a wheelchair. She speaks actually with a retinal device. So she has an augmentative device that kind of looks like an iPad, and a camera will follow her eye movements. And when her eyes land on a particular tile, it'll speak that word for her. And so I just love this little girl. Her mom is one of my best friends. And I decided to create this room for her. And what really got me excited from the beginning was that Kohler has a Kohler cloud system that can connect their components to an app, their own app, and also Shade Store can connect through Alexa. And so technically what we did is build this beautiful bath and bed suite for Virginia, where theoretically she could be as autonomous as any other child and be able to control the components of her room through this retinal device. So she could turn on and off her shower, set the water temperature, turn on and off lights, music. Through the Shade Store, she could raise and lower her shades. I mean, it was just incredible. We put grab bars in the bathroom. We did an accessible bathroom with an intelligent toilet for hygiene, which is super important for not only disability, but aging in place. I think the hygiene component sometimes is what spurs people to end up going to care centers or having full-time care if they can't handle that component on their own. But it was such an incredible experience, because I think I'm the first in a 48-year history to ever address disability in, at least in Kips Bay Show House. And the people that came through were incredibly supportive. I think we had 12,000 come through this year, and I probably spoke to 8,000 of them. I just wanted to tell everybody the story, and it was a little hard to know what the room could really do without sharing all the components that we put in. And just having the feedback from doctors, occupational therapists, physical therapists coming through, and just regular citizens who just wanted to share a story about somebody that they loved, somebody they had lost. Even the plumber that put in the Kohler plumbing component said to me that he was a hot dog skier in Colorado, and he did a backflip and broke both of his ankles and was in a wheelchair for about a year. And he said it was a real pivotal moment in his life, because he just couldn't, he lost all of his autonomy, and he couldn't be independent. It was really rough. And so for me, this design for people with disability is just about creating interior design that's equitable and that really preserves dignity for all of us, no matter what age or stage we're in. I'm very much a girly girl. I love fashion and I love fabrics and all of those things, but I'm also quite a tomboy. And like, I grew up in Louisiana and Texas, and we did a lot of outdoor sports. Although I was never a team sport person, I'm like the master of the solo sports. I'm great at target shooting, archery, horseback riding. I love to water ski. You know, just, I think I'm a little bit of a tomboy. I could definitely camp, start a fire, do those things on my own. And maybe that's just living in the South. I don't know, but I do enjoy that.